So Adam Houlahan is our keynote speaker today. He's an international keynote speaker specialising in social media for businesses and the CEO of highly successful boutique agency, Web Traffic That Works. He lives in Australia's iconic tourist destination, the Gold Coast, Queensland, and is considered to be one of Australia's leading experts in harnessing the power of LinkedIn for businesses. Over 13,600 people globally have sought his skill and insights to leverage the power of LinkedIn for their business. He is the author of 2 Amazon best-selling books, Social Media Secret Sauce and The LinkedIn Playbook, and co-authored a 3rd international bestseller, Better Business, Better Life, Better World. Adam works with many of Australia's elite athletes, assisting them to transition from paid sports stars into careers, utilising their personal brands and specifically LinkedIn as a mentor in the Athlete Empire program. He believes real and meaningful change comes through the world's entrepreneurs. His purpose is to provide their business with powerful tools to grow and accelerate their global footprint, and that together we can make an important impact. Through his lifetime partnership with Global Giving Initiative, he is well on track to positively impact the lives of more than 1 million people in need by 2018. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Adam up to the microphone.
Well, good morning. So thank you, Claudia. That sounds like a very scripted introduction. I'm going to have to get my copywriters to change that. But what I'm going to do first is something that no speaker would ever actually ask you to do, and that is I want you to actually play with your phone while I'm talking. So who actually has a LinkedIn profile right now? Cool. Who has the LinkedIn app on their phone? Good, because if you don't, this is going to really suck. So what I'd like you to do, take out your phone, go onto your LinkedIn app, go to the home, to your, down the bottom where it says My Network. I know you can't see my phone, but just this little button down the middle there. We've got that. Up the top, right in the middle, there's one called Find Nearby. And I want you to click on that. Now when you do, what should happen, I should stay in front of the microphone, everyone in the room should just show up and you can now connect with everybody here in the room. Is that working? Yes, it is. I can see Sean, I can see Jeremy, Trevor. Cool. So, if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can do that right now, and you can also do that with everyone else in the room, if you choose to. So it's a little, this has been on LinkedIn for a few months, but it's very unknown. Everyone has to be using it. So if you run events like this, you actually have to do what I did and just tell everyone to go on it, otherwise it doesn't work. But as you can see now, there's a whole bunch of people there. Cool. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is LinkedIn and some of the things you need to know. LinkedIn's a very dynamic platform, changes very, very quickly. And the bad thing is LinkedIn doesn't tell us about the changes and how it affects what we're doing. So the first thing that we really need to know about is most people think LinkedIn, or often think it's just a CV, it's a place where you put your resume. It's actually one of the most powerful business tools that you can use. Our company, we have an amazing team all around the world, and this is what we do. We actually do LinkedIn marketing for companies all over the world, predominantly in Australia, the US, UK, Singapore, and Japan, believe it or not. But one of the main things is that LinkedIn's mostly about how you create content, and the content has to be in a very specific format. There's only 5 types of content that you can use, and if you do use anything other than these types of content, it's going to get you in a lot of trouble. The first one is what we just call text-based posts. Now these are like what we call a status update, 1,300 characters maximum. You just literally cannot use any more than that. 1,301, it just won't load. So this is like, say, how you see it in your LinkedIn feed, if you make it easy. Like this is the same type of thing. It's the same 1,300 characters of text, but where you can add an image as well. Again, one of the big mistakes people make is using stock images. The images need to be in relation to the content that you're actually sharing. Of course, probably the most prolific type of content we can use these days is video. The thing with LinkedIn though is you can't use links to say YouTube or Vimeo or anything like that. You have to upload the content directly onto the LinkedIn platform. If you don't, I'm going to show you what happens very soon. The other type of content is just where someone else has shared something on LinkedIn that would be highly beneficial to your audience. So it's got to have, you want to have it where it's in correlation to what your audience, not necessarily what you would like, but what your audience would like. That is good content as well, provided that it originated on LinkedIn. And I'll show you the difference of that in a minute. The last one is what we call pulse articles. Now these ones are the long form, it's almost like your own blog that LinkedIn gives you. Unfortunately, LinkedIn doesn't give these a great deal of algorithm juice anymore, so they're the least of the 5 most important. However, you definitely still want to use them because this is the only content that anchors to your profile. So if you go onto my profile right now, you could see that there was one of these loaded yesterday, and it stays there permanently. No matter, you come onto my profile, all of those are there, as opposed to your status updates, they're rolling through your feed and eventually disappear like anything you see on Facebook. So they're the 5 types that you can use, and if you use anything outside of these, you risk going into what we call LinkedIn jail. Now, what LinkedIn jail is it's basically, well, there's multiple forms of LinkedIn jail, and the one we're talking about today is around your content. So what actually happens is if you use the wrong type of content, then basically LinkedIn's bots come along, have a look at it, and they're looking for 2 specific things, and if they see those 2 things, then immediately your content becomes basically invisible to anyone in your net, well, not only your network, the wider network, which is what you actually want to get. So the 2 things they're looking for, hopefully nobody here is using this in content, that one will get you into trouble, which is any form of profanity, but the one that's really causing everyone trouble is when you put links into articles. So for example, if you link off to your blog or a YouTube link or anything like that, that is the biggest thing that they're looking for. And the reason is, now let's face it, LinkedIn is a business. It was just, you're probably aware, it was bought by Microsoft a year or so ago for $26 billion US, and they want to keep you on their platform because that's where you get exposed to their advertising. So now if we were having this conversation in November last year, it would be the complete opposite. This would have been the strategy we would have been telling you to use, is to link off to your articles. Now you can't. It's just that LinkedIn don't actually tell you that, and they put your content into this content suspension. So to give you an idea of what actually happens, Guy Kawasaki was the first person to actually come across this. And as I said, LinkedIn do not tell you when these things happen. If you look at the bottom example there, it's a bit hard to see there because below the couch. So he posted a very average piece of content which just said read about the best features of iOS and a link to that article, and he got about almost 6,000 views. Now for any of us mere mortals, we'd be very, very happy with 6,000 views on a crappy piece of content. However, what he then did, waited 24 hours, he deleted that post, and then he reposted it, as you can see above. And you see the exact same content, and it got 20,000 views. That's the difference. So what happens, now unfortunately you can't actually see this anymore, but unfortunately I got screenshots before they took it away. This is on my account. So what actually happens is when they suppress the content, it becomes only visible to the first degree network. And I did the exact same. I've done this over 100 times now on multiple accounts to prove that it actually is happening. And so see on the top, I got 600 views on this piece of content. And what I was really looking for was that piece down the bottom as to what was actually happening. This is the part you cannot see when you look in your analytics anymore, because they've now taken this away as well. But this is what happens. They're making sure that only people in your first degree network that actually come onto your profile see it. I did the same thing, deleted the content, reloaded it exactly the same the next day, but put the link in the comment below. Now this is the little workaround. If you want to share a link to an article or a YouTube video or whatever it is, what you have to do is put the status post up, without a link, put a call to action at the bottom, say see link in first comment below. And that's the only it works right now. Will it work in 6 months' time? I don't know, they may wake up to it, but this is what we're doing now and it's working. And this is what happens, you can see it gets into your second degree network. So it doesn't matter how many, like for example, I have the maximum, which is 30,000 first degree connections. But what you really need to do is get exposure to the connections of those connections. And then you amplify your reach 10 times over. As I said, you cannot actually see this now, but if you go on your analytics, but that's actually what happens. Now, I run a 12-week training program, and in fact, Sean, sitting right here, is part of that. But I was having I'm not sure if it was in the group we're in, Sean, but I was having this almost argument with somebody, and they're saying, well, if I can't put the link into my article, how can I promote my business? I said, well, you put the link in the comment. They go, well, if I put it in the comment, nobody will see it. And I said, well, you put it up the top, I guarantee you nobody will see it. And so actually after that, I went, okay, I'll show you how this works. I will post something and I'll show you how you can get massive reach if you do it this way. And this was the post that I put up. As you can see, there's no link in the article. I just said, see the first comment down below. This one post got, again, you can't really see it. It's 90,000 views on that one piece of content. There was 590 people that commented on it. What I was actually promoting was where you could get a free copy of one of my books on Amazon. And there was 800 people went and downloaded a free copy of the book in 5 days. So it does not affect your reach by putting the link in the comment below. It's in fact the only way now that works. So how do you get out of this LinkedIn jail if you're in there? We used to be able to actually tell whether you were in there or not. Again, they've now taken that away. So if you've been posting content where you're sharing lots of links to articles, just make the assumption that you are in there. And there's a couple of simple ways that you can get out of that. The easiest way is just to post nothing at all for 30 days. So they will then remove that suspension that's on your account, and you can start posting again. If that sounds a bit too daunting, like there's a lot of people who want to be sharing content all the time, then just start sharing the right type of content. It'll still probably take around, now 30 days is a guideline, not a rule. It's just what we've found, that if, around about after 4 weeks or so, that we start to see the content getting good reach again. The other way, of course, is to only share stuff that's already on LinkedIn, as I showed you before. But honestly, the best way is just to give it a 30-day break and then start all over again. And there's a number of people that, even Sean will be able to tell you, that we went through this process and were able to start getting good traction again. I can't remember, Sean, was yours? Were you in?
No, I missed the jail, thanks to your tip.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. So what is the real value of LinkedIn? What I really believe the value of LinkedIn is the ability to become an influencer. Now, I don't mean by that a LinkedIn influencer or a Richard Branson or these type of people. What I mean is it gives you the ability to become highly influential in the industry that you operate in, whether that's real estate or plumbing, doesn't matter what it is. It's about positioning yourself as the go-to person in that industry. And this is what I'm actually writing my next book. My third book is called Influencer. And in fact, I was sitting here in a motel room in Caboolture last night writing a chapter on it. But the key thing about this influence is how can you use LinkedIn to do that? And the reality is that most people say, oh, it's such a noisy place. There's so many people on LinkedIn. How can I stand out? But the thing is that, yeah, there's 550 million people on LinkedIn right now, but there's only about 1 million of those 550 million who actually create content on a regular basis. So you drop very, very quickly from this big market to, if you can start using good quality content, to only 1 million, and there's only 100,000, which anybody that can do the maths on that very quickly and tell me what that is as a percentage, I'll give you a copy of my book. Yell out if you think you know what the answer is. But use your phone, it's all good. Way less. From 550 million to 100,000. So there's only 100,000 that actually are doing this the right way, which is what Sean now understands. So he's now almost in one of these 100,000. So you get to the ability to really dominate a niche, and that's what the real power of LinkedIn is. Most people, again, as I say, think it's all about just sending people connection requests and pitching them an offer about what you do. How many people have been on LinkedIn? Someone sent you a connection request, and the very next day you got a pitch about whatever it is they do. Hands up if that's happened to you. Yeah, it happens all the time. So that's the least most valuable way to use LinkedIn, and almost nobody interacts on that. The content is what really makes the difference. And to do that, this is the framework. This is the what we call the 9 pillars of influence, which let me just show you that. Now, of course, we don't have anywhere near enough time for me to run through exactly every single step of this. But if you, by all means, if you want to take screenshots of this or anything, please do. But the core thing is that people have to know, like, and trust you. If you can create that, then you can create an amazing platform to dominate an industry, and we know this because this is what we do as a company with other companies all around the world. And if you look at the top part, this is the part, just one little thing I'll focus on, and we don't really have time for the rest. But the key thing is that you have to dominate not only a niche, but a micro niche, so a niche within a niche. This is the key thing, the key takeaway that if you can understand just this one concept, you're on your way to doing this very well. Now, I'm picking on Sean because he happened to do two wrong things today. One was turn up, the second was to sit right beside me. So Sean, what do you think? When we went through this process, what did we come down to as a niche and a micro niche for you?
So I came down to being a growth mindset coach, which is a horizontal niche as opposed to a vertical.
That's it. So that's it. Your niches can do one of two things. It can be broad, which means you do one thing for multiple industries, or it can be vertical, which means you can do multiple things just for one industry. So you might only work with lawyers. So if you have a product that helps the legal fraternity, then that's you're very, very what we call vertical. As opposed to there's a couple of people in real estate here. So in the real estate industry, you just do one thing within reason, whether that's commercial or residential or whatever, but you appeal to a broad range of people who would be interested in that one thing. So you have to kind of dominate that one little micro niche, if that makes sense. All right, so this is about as much time as we have for today, other than some questions. What I've had to do here is cut down a 90-minute presentation for you to fit this time frame. But if you like, I actually run every about 8 weeks a free webinar where we actually go really deep on all of this. And the next one is actually on the 7th of August, so not very far away. So if you'd like to get the rest of this information, you can just use that link and you can register for free to come to that on that webinar. It's on 7 p.m. that night, and I'll be able to give you the entire breakdown of all this stuff. So that's about all we've got time for, other than some questions. So is that how you'd like to go forward, Claudia? All right.
You said before that you lose the reach to outside your first connectors, but if you are posting links, that still reaches your first connectors.
Thank you. It's a good distinction.
Yeah.
It'll reach them for about 3 minutes, about how long the bot takes to come along and have a look at it. So when you post your content, it's kind of open to most of the first degree network. If the bot comes along and it actually knows what swear words are, so if it sees any of those or it sees a link, then it shuts it down and makes it, so anyone from that point on can only see it if they actually come onto your profile, if that makes sense.
So you have, was it 2 best-selling Amazon books or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, so what were the main things that you talked about in those books that were so engaging to being bestsellers?
The first one was just a general, in fact, couple there. Two for you. Two for you. There you go. So the first one was just a general about social media, in how you gain a lot of followers on your social profiles. The second one, as you can see, is the LinkedIn playbook. Is specifically on LinkedIn and how you can use LinkedIn to generate leads for business. So for some reason, people seem to find that interesting, and both of them are bestsellers. And I'm writing a third book right now, which is actually a sequel to the LinkedIn playbook.
See some people on Facebook going on LinkedIn using Facebook type posts. What do you think the value is of Facebook for business, and what's the difference with LinkedIn versus Facebook?
Thanks, Sean. Good question. So LinkedIn gives you the ability to position yourself as a real influencer if you use it properly. You also can get quite good organic reach on your content. So most of the companies we work with, we have a very specific posting schedule. So we'll post 12 pieces of content a month. 6 of those are just the status posts that I showed you, 2 are status posts with an image, and 4 of them are videos. As a general rule, we'll get around somewhere between 100 and 200,000 views across that content per month with 0 ad spend. To do that on Facebook, there is no way that you'll get any form of reach on Facebook unless you're spending money on boosting posts or on actual campaigns. And generally speaking, there's no rule of thumb, but you would generally have to be spending a few $1,000s a month to get that level of reach on Facebook.
I just wondered, would you recommend to all the businesses in the room to be on LinkedIn because of what specific advantages?
It's a good question. It depends you could do 2 things. You could just have a really well-presented profile so that when people come and have a look at your profile, as they do tend to do, no matter who you are, if somebody's going to do business with you, they will do a Google search on you these days. It's just, and for the students in the room, I guarantee you, this might not be a popular statement, but as employers, generally speaking, we will do a Google search when we bring you down to the short list. At that point, we've been looking at CVs and things like that. From there, we will actually Google search you and see what comes up. I can guarantee you, anybody who actually owns Jeremy, okay? There you go. So everybody who is a business owner, before they employ you, are going to do a Google search. The first thing that will come up is your LinkedIn profile. So you want to make sure that looks, well presented. That's at the least level of its value. The highest level is that it's probably the best lead generation, business generating tool for B2B type businesses. Not so much for B2C, which is not to say it doesn't work for B2C. One of our best clients that we work with is a B2B company, B2C. So they have a retail business in Brisbane, but I would say 100% if you're a B2B, business to business, so you sell services to other businesses, then yes, you have high value of being there. Long-winded answer, sorry, but it's a simple question. All right, I think that's all. Thank you, Claudia.
I'd just like to thank you for coming out and taking time out of your busy schedule.
My pleasure.
You're right.
Thank you.